Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. The widespread publicity in the Vybz Kartel murder case was the focus of attention today as the Court of Appeal continued its hearing. The court is to decide if incarcerated entertainer Vybz Kartel and his 3 co-accused should be retried for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Our legal correspondent Dion Jackson Miller has been covering the case and now joins us live. Dion, what happened in court today?
Well, the publicity point was one. Another big point was the health of Kartel. But just before I get to that, Attorney John Clark had an interesting metaphor. He said the integrity of the justice system is like Humpty Dumpty, and his argument is that there are so many issues here that would affect a possible retrial that would not be in the interest of justice that he says it's impossible to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So the issue of Vybz Kartel health came up. Isaac Buchanan was addressing the court on that point. He spoke of the ordeal that this has taken on Kartel's physical health, mental health, and finances as well. So he spoke about his physical health, said his heart function has declined by 50% since last year, that he has Graves' disease. They also had medical reports speaking to his mental health, saying he's suffering from anxiety and from what Mr. Buchanan called a mental weakness that is caused by the ordeal, and that he spent millions on this, on defending this matter, and that all those issues should be weighed in the balance. Now, he had quoted a court case that said an accused person should not be made to go through such an ordeal a second time, but the case also said, except it's in the interest of justice. So I always say, Andrea, that we have to remember, so far we've been hearing from the defense. So they raised as well, for instance, the issue of publicity. After the trial, saying the widespread publicity about the tainted juror, that's a juror who had tried to bribe the other members of the jury, and that this created for a lot of members of the public an impression, even though there was no link made between the juror and the accused men, a lot of people thought that this had something to do with the accused men. And they were raising the question as to whether it's possible to find a jury that could really sit down and look at the evidence afresh. But as I was saying earlier, we have to remember we've only been hearing from the defense lawyers. The prosecution starts their submissions tomorrow. And we always have to remember that while we're hearing these submissions about the ordeal and the difficulties that the men have been going through, the other side of the coin is that a man was killed, allegedly, in very gruesome circumstances, allegedly by these 4 accused, and therefore those are the issues that are going to have to be weighed in the balance when the Court of Appeal decides if there is going to be this retrial.
All right. Thank you very much, Dion Jackson Miller, our legal correspondent, updating us on the Vybz Kartel appeal. Archie?
Thank you, Anne.